Yay!
Yay!
Yeah.
Welcome to today's podcast. Thanks for joining. And what's our topic for today?
It is travel as a
Yes.
help for mental health or
And who needs a
support.
vacation? I want to go to Mexico City.
I'd go to Mexico City.
I want to see it. I think it has really interesting architecture and art and the food. I want to try the food there.
I
I've
love
never
the
been.
fact that Mexico is a country that has a woman president that is doing
Yes.
amazing things, such as, I mean, one of the first things I recall hearing about her implementing was even for women who never worked outside of the home, she set it up so
Mm-hmm.
that they have pensions at the age of 64, I believe, all women,
Oh, wow.
because women do all sorts of unpaid labor. And
Yes.
so she's acknowledging it and saying that they get a pension, whether or not they ever worked outside the home.
That is kind of revolutionary, really, if you
Mhm.
think about it.
I think but based on all of the studies done on cultures and societies around the world, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't have a next generation without women.
it's true.
Most of these places don't have homes, don't have children raised, don't there's places where you wouldn't have clean clothes or a clean house or, like without women. And even in the
And
place,
that's why sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
And that's why most public health interventions in, you know, low income countries are focused on the women because they tend to be well, they're the carers, obviously, for the children, next generation, but they maintain the household. Um, and they're actually a lot of them are doing kind of business on the side, to
Hmm.
help with the family generate income. But they're the ones that are basically the decision makers. They're the ones that need to be empowered.
The other thing is when you look at studies, they've done like tests, loan money, like small, like the micro loans to
Yeah,
women and to
microloans.
men. When you loan them to women, they get paid back more, but it also uplifts not only her, but those around her. And so I think,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's other people supporting President Scheinbaum, but when you look at the concept here and you look at the number of grandmothers around the world who end up raising or and
Mm,
supporting, I mean, my mom is supporting me, like
hmm.
supporting their children and their grandchildren. It tends to be, and I'm not saying that there aren't men who don't do it, but in general, it tends to more so be women. So if you make
Yes.
sure women over the age of 64 have a pension, right there, you're probably given 3 generations income
Yeah,
that might not
that's
have it
right. Because
otherwise.
they're going to take care of the family,
Mhm. And if
multi
not,
generational.
like even if you think about people who are stuck in the middle, who might be, I don't know, the 30, 40 years old, that means it's a little bit less of a lift on them to have to support somebody
Hmm.
who's older, and women tend to live longer.
Yep.
So if something happens, kind of thing, to their male partner, and whatever pension or whatever he had stops at the point of his death, what happens to this woman? A lot of
Exactly.
them do have right of inheritance, but some don't. Some do not. So
Yeah.
anyways, it's one of the reasons that I'm very interested in going back to Mexico. I've never,
Hmm.
other than the airport, I've never been to Mexico City. And like you, I have seen sort of like when people show the architecture and they show the food. But I also like the pace. Yes, it's a big city, but it's a big city that to me, I've not been, but what I've heard described reminds me a bit of the Mediterranean in the sense of acknowledging needs for rest, of maybe
Oh,
taking
like a
things a little.
siesta?
Yeah, I don't know that they do siesta, but I
I
feel
don't know.
based on the descriptions that I've seen on social media that there is sort of woven through the daily life
Hmm.
this sense that it's not all just hustle and bustle. And I
Mm.
also think of Fluffy, who is Mexican American, Gabriel Iglesias, and his description of the way different groups of Latinos speak Spanish. And he
Mhm.
talks about himself being Mexican American. He's like, "Ojalá." I don't know. His description is they speak as if they've smoked a bit of weed, nice and slow and gentle. He's like, "Well, Cubans sound angry and Puerto Ricans sound like they're running out of air." What did they just
Oh, really?
say? Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So, anyways, so I could have a completely wrong idea of what Mexico City is like, but the people that I know that have either been there or from there seem to have that appreciation that life is not just how fast can we move on the treadmill of life. Like
So I
there's more to it.
follow a yoga teacher,
Mhm.
and he just moved from Austin. He's Mexican, but he just moved from Austin to Mexico City because he had a big breakup and everything. Um, but I think his parents are still in Austin, but he, I believe he was born in Mexico, not sure where. Then he moved to the States and grew up, and he's a yoga teacher, and he's moved back this year, late last year. And he said that it's full of, there's a lot of greenery, like parks and places to walk, which I think speaks to what you're saying because it must be quite, they're trying to invoke this sense of, take a walk, go outside, relax. I don't know. I want to see
Enj-
it.
Enjoy life. The other place that I've gotten impressions of it is from movies. So when I like on occasion
Mm.
to watch Spanish language movies, and there's a couple that I'm thinking of that take place in Mexico City, and so you get to see different parts of the city.
I only know it from James Bond. You know, that one
Oh,
shot he's running across, it's like the Festival of the Dead, and then
mhm.
he's running across, he's supposed to, like, get an assassin, and then the building collapses, and that's my impression of Mexico City.
Okay.
That's it.
I'm I'm gonna have to send you some other Mexico City movies because
Okay, fine.
they may not be quite as action packed because
Yeah,
at least
that was
most
a
of the
pretty
ones.
good, it was a good scene. It was, like, shot all in one go. It's quite cool.
It's a very
Back
good
when it
scene.
was kind of a novelty. Mm,
It's
yeah,
a very good
that was
scene.
cool.
Yeah.
Um,
So travel.
anyway, yes, so travel. I have done a bit of research. And what I did pick up on is this latest thing on Instagram that I saw was that Sweden has this prescription for travel now.
Ooh.
So it's cute. It's not like a real prescription. It's a marketing thing. But what you can do is you can go to this website and download a PDF form, and it has all your kind of basic options of like go biking, go take a walk in the forest, enjoy coffee within the fika tradition, that kind of cozy, warm, have a coffee thing they do in the afternoon. Um, have a sauna, that kind of stuff. And then you take this form to your doctor, and then your doctor, you discuss with your doctor what's best for your mental health or your health, because travel has beyond mental health benefits, it has health benefits. And then the last page of this PDF actually has all the studies to support all the activities that they put on that sheet. And it was developed with this researcher at their university, Karolinska Institute. So that's quite it's kind of cool. So anyway, and on Instagram, they're selling it like, oh, Sweden, a doctor can prescribe a trip. Not really, but kinda. But but what it's doing is it's putting travel in the center of your as an option for health. So I think that is really good.
Well, if you think about doctors having to then, um, or whoever does their billing, having to send it
Mm,
to insurance company as like this is a valid prescription kind of thing. Um,
mhm.
Having the backup on the studies that
Yeah.
show how it's beneficial can be helpful. Some of the stuff that because I was a little bit focused on the mental health side of things, though we do know through, I mean, long-standing understanding how mental health can also impact the physical body. So
Oh,
even
yeah.
if we're talking about studies and stuff that look at it from a mental health perspective, there are physical contributions that having your mental health be balanced, be
Mhm,
rejuvenated, have on your
mhm,
physical body. And so I'm going to read a little bit here, but leisure trips act as a break from routine demands, which is linked with lower psychological distress and a sense of recovery from stress and burnout. So that's one of the first things. Now, there is a caution in this study about the fact that, it's not over scheduling a trip. It's also
mm.
not putting yourself under financial strain for a trip.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
stressful. My
so
god.
one of the other things is that a lot of, I don't know if it's maybe later studies, but they look at the fact that you can get some of the same benefits without necessarily having to go somewhere else. Now, going somewhere else adds the element of
Hmm.
novelty and new and learning something new, which has its own benefits. But
Yeah.
you can do staycations and get some of the benefits that you might get. So, like, for example, let's say somebody pulled the Swedish information and they were
Mhm.
looking at the cozy coffee and they were looking at the sauna. Somebody could potentially find those things in their locale, their location where they're currently at, have less
Yeah,
of a financial strain
yeah.
potentially, but take the time to do those things and be able to reap the benefits noted by those studies.
It's true because in DC, for example, the Smithsonian is free. And
Mhm.
so, you could just pick a weekend and say, "I'm gonna go to a museum that I've never been to or I haven't been to in, like, 20 years." And
Yeah.
you can go, and it would have probably, I imagine, the same effect as going to the Louvre in
Yeah.
Paris and less stressful because you're not fighting the crowds like you are at the Louvre.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think the other thing that was interesting, so this is a different study, but time in nature during travel, such as parks, outdoor, like walking outdoors, and
Mhm.
other outdoor activities, is associated with psychotherapeutic effects such as improved mood, stress relief, and a feeling of psychological rescue, especially for women in outdoor tourism programs. So I found it
Oh.
interesting that it was outdoor tourism programs, but I again always like to think about, okay, is there a place that you could maybe go to locally and
Mm.
do a walk outdoors if that's your thing? Is there a
Mhm.
place, for somebody who likes something maybe that gets their heart rate up, is there a place that you can go zip lining outdoors? Or
Mm.
go, I don't know, maybe you like to ski, or if you don't like to ski, maybe you want to tube. We're in winter. Like I'm thinking about there's a spot that's not too far from where I live. One of the young men who was at the Super Bowl party that I attended, he actually works there, and they have
Oh.
tubing. So you can tube. You can
Oh,
take a tube,
yeah.
go
Yeah.
down the hill, and it's snowy here, and but it's the outdoor impact of like the sun on your face. Though you can do some of this at night,
Mm.
but it's the bit of sun on your face, it's feeling the air, it's being a little bit closer to nature. And
Mhm.
especially for people in which I lived for 22 years in a larger city.
Mhm.
I lived in between like a really big park and a slightly smaller park, like they're good size. But for the first 5 years that I lived there, I had no idea I was near, the park, the closest park that I was near, because I didn't think about going there. I always went into Manhattan, into Central Park, which everybody talks about, and then you have
Oh,
crowds.
yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well,
So
there's such a thing as forest bathing, which
oh,
is, I mean, I guess, it's a thing now, I guess, but I don't know really what that means. I don't know if you like lie down in the forest or is it just walking through the forest? I'm not really sure. But there is, as part of this Swedish prescription thing, it says that forest bathing significantly reduced cortisol concentrations, indicating a stress reduction. So I guess it's a quiet stroll through a forest, and you can slow down, listen, and simply be.
yeah. So I lived
Very
close
nice.
to Forest Park, which had trails. So there were trails that, like,
Oh,
sometimes people would take horses on. I think it was less common, but that's the park I didn't.
horses.
Yeah, horses.
Oh my
There
God.
I don't
Must be
I don't know if
big.
it still exists, but there used to
Mm,
be, like, a horse barn, farm kinda location not too far
stable.
from it. That's it, stable. Um,
Yeah.
where they actually house the and some of the horses. I don't I think they have to have horses in Manhattan too, but they house some of the horses for the NYPD, or maybe that's where
Oh,
they went
okay.
after. I'd never seen the stable, so I'd
Mm,
just
mm.
seen people riding horses, and probably for the last 5 or 10 years, I haven't seen any horses. But when I first moved to the
Oh,
city,
okay.
I used to see horses regularly. I shouldn't say first. 2005 to probably about 2010, I saw horses regularly in that park.
Oh, wow.
Um, but it's for an urban environment, it is
Hmm.
probably one of the most wooded areas. And you could literally walk and feel like you were in a bit of a forested, like there's needles and leaves all over the ground and it's not paved. There is a paved section, but where
Oh.
you could walk and where they often did the horse riding, it's not paved. So you could actually get the effects of that forest bathing while still being technically within the confines of New York City. Now I live in a place that's just above a creek,
Oh, yeah.
but and I live very close to quite a few trees, but there's no easy way. I'm like looking outside. I've never tried walking that way. They built a fast track like bus system thing
Mhm.
over that way, and so I think where you might have been able to walk in the trees before is gone. So there's kind of trees
Oh.
in between me and that. But as I understand it, they're on a bit of a hill, so it's not really walking friendly.
Mm,
So, but I
I
am
see.
surrounded by trees. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's one right outside my window. Let's see, there's trees
Did you
behind
find
it.
the nutmeg?
No, there is no actual nutmeg. It is some other kind of nut. I
Oh, it
thought
isn't a nutmeg.
it isn't a nutmeg.
Oh.
What
But we
kind of
don't know what nut it
I
is.
don't know what nut it is.
Hmm,
It might actually
interesting.
be this acorn.
Doesn't
Yeah,
look at all like a nutmeg, though.
I didn't know what a nutmeg looked like. I just know we were the nutmeg state. That's all I knew.
The con artist state.
Mhm.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's all
It's
I
a
knew.
long time ago.
It well, yes, but I'm gonna take us back to travel.
Oh, okay.
Memorable trips can fulfill basic psychological needs such as autonomy, competence, and connection, and are associated with greater meaning in life and more positive long-term memories. And this makes me think of something like whenever I end up, and I've had quite a few opportunities to talk to young people who are graduating, for example, from high school. I always, always strongly encourage them to plan their college career so that they can do a year of study abroad. And if they
Mm,
can't do that, do however long they can possibly do, because everybody I talk to who's done something like that, it is often the most memorable part of
mm.
their studies. And
Yep.
when just thinking about those things like competency, connection, um, autonomy, all of those things really come into play, but in a way, I mean, I know that there's some study abroads that maybe you're not quite as supported, and there's others that you can have full support while you're studying abroad. Um,
Yeah.
and it's a great way to meet people from other countries, to get to know yourself better by being in another place. And so I can see how
Mhm.
traveling, like I know that I was talking about the benefits of doing a staycation, but you can even have some of this, maybe not to the full extent, but I'm thinking about all the places that I've never visited that are
Mhm.
within easy, let's say an easy drive from here. Will it be exactly the same as going to another country? No. But I would still have the aspect if I go with somebody and it's us two and we go someplace together, you have the opportunity to connect, to explore a place together. And so I can see how there is a way to adopt some of that. And even when I think about living in the city, like the city changes so much. Like some of the places that I loved when I first moved there just don't exist anymore. So you could even go back to the same spot that you went to before, and there's something else
Mm.
entirely there. One of my friends from when I very first moved to New York City just let me know that this place that I loved called Chez Napoleon, which when I went there, the grandmother was still cooking the very
Mm.
down home French cuisine that I had when I very first stumbled across the place. It just closed. It
Oh,
just closed in 2025.
what happened to grandma?
Well, grandma had been the one cooking for a while. I think her grandson had been
Mm,
doing the
I
cooking
see.
for probably the last 10 years at least, maybe longer. But it might have just gotten too expensive. The city, it, this again, things roll over, tastes change. What was quaint and cute becomes old really fast in a place like
Yeah,
that. So I
yeah.
don't know. I haven't lived there for several years. Um, I think the last time I went there was pre-COVID. So if a lot of their regular customers were like me, they might have just not had enough custom to keep
I
going.
think you're right though, because traveling overseas, it's a huge it's a shock to the system, basically. That is what it is. And so you are adjusting continually 24/7 to a new environment, possibly a new language, different language if you're going somewhere non-English speaking. Um, but I think you can get similar benefit, like you said, if you just go, like, if you're in Connecticut and you go up to Maine, it's different. It's still different. And so, because it's a different environment, it's a little bit easier on the system because it's still the US. It's same money, currency. So you're not trying to figure out what coin you're supposed to be using. But it's still a challenge because it's an environment that you're not used to. So, and it's a different scenery. And like you said, if you're traveling with someone, that is a bonding, like a social bonding experience for both of you. And even better if there's, food that's specific to that region, um, like lobsters in Maine or whatever. So I think like you can still get those new experiences in a kind of a milder, not a shock. But you should get a shock once in a while too, though. I would recommend the shock.
I think getting you call it a shock, and maybe it's just because my first shock would have happened when I was maybe 10 months old in some ways. Um, it's sort of like I'm the weird person who I sleep better during turbulence. I don't know why. I get really sleepy. Maybe it's just my own body's like defense mechanism to a situation that everybody else is interpreting as dangerous. Um, but there is something for me, I don't know if it's freeing or relaxing, but for as much as going to a new place is shocking, there's also a freedom of getting to sort of create who you're going to be anew. Getting to b I mean, you're still yourself, you still carry yourself with you, but, how much do you wanna share with people?
I don't think shock in the negative sense. I
No, no,
think
no.
shock in a jarring sense, but you're right, because when you're in a completely different country that's not your language, it's not your culture, it's you have to kind of dig deep on who you are and how you manage it. And, you know, there's people that get stressed in that kind of environment, and then they're yelling at people, whatever. It's that's or you can just kinda calm down and go with the flow. And I think in that way, you get to know yourself as well. Um, I mean, I've traveled a bit, so and I've been to very, very different kinds of places. So, I enjoy it. My brother enjoys it. He does long trips every year, um, far-flung places, and he loves it. Um, yeah, I think it's good for you.
I think well, all of the studies, at least the ones that I was finding, other
Mm.
than again, they gave the cautions of not overscheduling yourself to the point where you had no time for rest,
Oh
making
god, I
sure
have
that
been there. I have been with people like that. Bloody hell.
I I am I like to go and think about everything that's possible, and then I like to see how I feel that day. And I try and do something each day, but something could be as simple as trying a new dish
Mm.
or
Mhm.
walking down a different way from where I'm staying, or talking or trying to talk to somebody that new. Like for me, it doesn't have to be I saw the 102 things on the tourist itinerary list. In fact, my favorite things are to go and sit somewhere, have a good meal and a conversation and watch people in a different place. Like, it's
I
relaxing.
I traveled with a friend once, and we went to Rome. This was ages ago, and she's calmed down since then, but she is the type to plan every second of every hour, and, we're students. And so we got to Rome, we got up the next day, and I think we hit every single tourist attraction in, like, 8 hours, and we're so tired. And honestly, I cannot tell you what we saw. I have no idea. I have a vague memory of, like, something, the Vatican, but it's out of my head. I have no idea what we did other than we tried to hit every gelato store because she needed gelato also every hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind
That
the gelato.
was
I don't
crazy.
mind the gelato every hour, but I remember, like, the first time I was in Paris, and it was we were there for 5 weeks,
Mhm.
and the effort between classes, French being this was literally it was still my 2nd year of learning French, so French is new, so the brain is chomping on that, and trying to see as many touristy things as possible in the time that we had off.
Yeah,
I
I
was
know.
so exhausted by the time we left
Yeah.
that was when I was like, "You know what? You're just gonna have to come back." This
Yep.
concept of trying even in 5 weeks, which most people are like, "Hey, you should be able to see everything." I still didn't see the Rodin Museum during those 5 weeks. I just had to go back to go to the Rodin Museum. That was just it.
Yeah.
And I was so exhausted that like you, well, you were there for this, but I mean, like, I have pictures from seeing the Eiffel Tower, and I still distinctly remember loving Sacré-Cœur. But if you asked me what I saw that last week, I couldn't tell you. I was
Nope.
just so tired from just, "Oh, you have to get up, you have to go." It's like, it taught me that if I'm going someplace and I'm changing time zones, that
Mhm.
first day I wanna get up and do something, but I am not
Mm.
pushing myself to do everything, you know?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes those, like, hop on, hop off buses, or even better, a local city bus that you just get on and
Mhm.
take and see as much as you can while paying whatever the local fare is, like, the best thing to do because you got up, you did something, you didn't tax your body, you didn't tax your mind, and you saw a bit of wherever it is you're at.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I learned that lesson. It felt like the hard way of like
Yeah.
the need for rest, especially when traveling internationally, I think is
Yes.
even more necessary. Like
Yep.
if you are in a place where you want to get up early, great. Then make sure you're going to sleep early,
Mhm.
or you're taking a nap
Yeah.
if that's what you rather. But you've got to make sure that you rest your body and your mind if you wanna enjoy and remember it,
Yep.
because
Absolutely.
you may still be getting the benefits, but when you overschedule or overschedule for you, because again, there's some people who can do 8
Yeah.
hours, and that feels totally fine for them, and I'm like, "More
Yeah.
power to you." I'm a 4 to 6-hour person, and we're stretching it in that 6, and that's not including the meals, so I'm probably closer to 4, of doing stuff, and then whether it's journaling or reviewing pictures that you've taken, or I used to do this, Katie's been the recipient of this. I used to do long instead of journaling, I would do long emails to my friends
Oh,
about
yes.
it was kind of like a journal, and most of my
Yes.
friends, I think, skim
Yes.
them. They
Yes,
skim
it
them.
is a form of journaling, everybody. You can just
Yes.
send pages and pages of an email to
There was
people.
no expectation that people would read
No,
it all.
no, she did not expect a response or anything. She just
You did
sent it.
not have to read it all, not at all. What I also loved was I don't know if Nettie ever got you on this, but Armando was staying with us when I went to Scotland, and Nettie and Armando used to have, like, as text messages to each other. "Did you get it? Yeah. Have you read any of it? No? How long is it this time? This one's only 9 pages. The last one was 11." Like, they would go back and hadn't read a word, but they would go back and forth with each other about
Mm,
the emails. Yeah. That
yeah.
that was the trip where somebody
I
took.
did make an effort. Like, I made
Yes,
an
you did.
effort to skim because I felt like I know it's almost like a journal entry, so I didn't need to but I did try, but I mean, around page 3, you're just like, "Come on. I gotta start skimming this thing."
And it's so true. Like,
Yeah.
I and that was at the time when, you didn't really travel with your laptops kind of thing, so we would
No,
be
that's
in
right. No, yeah.
because it was still early, and so we would be in, like, a internet cafe, and one of the gals got
Yes.
her bag stolen, and so we had to go to the
Oh my god.
American yeah, we had to go to the American embassy because her
Wow.
passport had been in it. I did not end up going.
Ouch.
It was London.
Oh,
London is not
boy.
my favorite town. I know there are people who love it. I'm a New York City, Paris kinda gal. London and DC and Madrid. I'm a New York, Paris, and Barcelona. My city in the British Isles is much more Edinburgh.
Mm, I did go there once. I loved it.
I loved Edinburgh, and I was there for, the Fringe Festival
Oh,
when
yeah. Oh, wow.
so,
Did you go to that?
yeah, I went to the Fringe
How was
Festival.
it?
It was it was wild because I was living in New York City at the time.
Mm,
Edinburgh at that time was about 500,000 people normally, and it doubled in size to 1,000,000, and so
mm,
everybody was talking about how crowded it was, but I was coming from a place of, like, 8,000,000 people, and so I was
mm.
like, "Crowded, okay." Like, for me, it wasn't crowded, so I really enjoyed it. Lots of green
Oh,
space, but I actually have to say that and like, when we went to the, tattoo, which is, like, the military
Oh,
thing
yes.
at the castle,
Mhm.
it was
Mhm.
pissing down rain. Like, the one day it just this was
Mm.
August, that it was just pissing down rain was the day we had tickets to the tattoo. We still had a great time. It meant, having a I think I had a hot chocolate with whiskey in it, but I think other people did something else. Hot toddies afterwards.
Mm. Mhm.
But I most remember we did a little tour into the Highlands, sort of. I
Oh,
think we went up
okay.
to Inverness, and I remember seeing the hairy Harry and, having to buy a wool sweater and wool socks and a windbreaker because
Mhm.
I did travel with layers, but it was August. I was leaving New
Yeah.
York City in August. So I had
Yeah.
a cotton sweater, I had like a cottony, um, suit, like blazer, that's what it is, cottony blazer. um I think I might have had maybe one really thin long sleeve thingy. Like, it just was not for cold and wet. So and I s
No. They have a different concept of summer up there.
yeah, in Edinburgh, I was fine. Like, I had to wear my layers, but I was fine with my layers. But as soon as we went, like, an hour north of Edinburgh, I
Mm.
had like, our first stop, it was a tourist stop, I didn't care. I got out, I bought and I still own it. I bought a wool sweater and wool socks. I don't own the windbreaker anymore. It wasn't really a windbreaker, it was like a windbreaker, men's thing. Um, but I also interestingly, and I have no idea why, I got my first Crocs there, but they weren't the typical Crocs. They were like sandal kind, like they have just a strap and a strap. I just thought of them as plastic
Oh,
sandals. And I don't
yeah.
remember why I got them, but I got them in that same trip, and I still own
Mm.
them. So I
Oh.
and that's 20 21, going on 22 years ago. But yeah,
Are
it was
they
cold.
British? Crocs.
I don't think
I
so.
don't know anything about I don't own Crocs.
Again, it was just a touristy stop, and I know I wasn't looking for I didn't know what Crocs were. I was just looking for a pair of, like, sandals that could get wet
Oh,
more
yeah.
easily.
Right. Because 'cause they're like rubber or
Yeah,
something,
they're
right?
rubbery,
Yeah.
and so these were, like, easy to slip on and slip off.
Mm.
And so if they got
Yep.
wet, I didn't care. And they were
Yep.
very lightweight, so it was a very easy, like, to pack
Mm.
kind of thing.
Yep.
I was like, "Oh, these are perfect." It wasn't probably until several years later that I even recognized the fact that they were Crocs.
Mhm. Mhm.
'Cause, again, I was looking for something in particular, this fit the bill, so that's what I got. Now that we are closer to this, I just wanted to round. Among older adults, participating in leisure travel is linked with lower loneliness and depression and better cognitive function, partly through increased social contact and mental stimulation.
Yes.
So
And
yes, go ahead.
I just to add on a couple more statistics for that. So last March, there was a global coalition on aging by the Transamerica Institute. I guess it's a nonprofit. And they were looking at fostering healthy aging through travel. So it was about all of that, what you just said, um, and how they were looking at travel as an enabler of healthy longevity. And they said that some statistics that they threw out were regular travel. I don't know what regular travel necessarily means, but has been shown to reduce mortality risk by 36.6% and lower Alzheimer's risk by up to 47% because of the culturally enriching activities like museums and live performances. And I guess it's like kind of synapsing other parts of your brain, and this was specifically looking at 50 plus, so our age and over, which is, I guess, the fastest growing demographic. Um, and in 2020, the 50 plus demographic accounted for half of global consumer spending. So 35 trillion US dollars. So I think they're like looking at travel as oh, it's good for your health, but oh, you are a huge demographic to spend money. So-
Yeah. Well, but there are like I don't know. I know that there are some countries who are also looking at how do they keep their folks 50 plus healthy. And
Mm.
one of the things I recall when I was doing my fellowship in Spain was in Madrid, there would be these tours that came through, and the people there were telling me the government sponsors tours for people who are retired and are on their equivalent of like
Oh.
and so they're like tours of people, they weren't 50 plus, they were probably good at least 65, I would say. But it was older
Mm.
folks. But they were
Hmm.
it was a tour done by the government that people could sign up for and
Wow.
get to go all together. And you'd see groups, I would say between 10 and 20 people
Hmm.
together with a guide and like, yes, they were doing the museums or the historical tours or they were trying different food. But this was
Hmm.
actually again, I'm hearing this from other people who were from Spain. They were saying this was something that the Spanish government sponsored for people who were older.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, that sounds amazing. Another reason to become a Spanish citizen.
That's also revolutionary and like kind of similar to the Swedish prescription. That's what it's called.
Yeah. I
Similar idea.
all of this stuff of talking about people 50 plus and I have this thing. At some point I'm going to do it. I don't know when yet. I want to go on a
Okay.
Viking river cruise.
Oh my God, my mom gets those ads. She wanted to go with my dad, and then my dad passed.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll go with you if you want, but she doesn't really want to because, she's consumed by tea.
I would love to get my mom to wanna go. She's not consumed by tea. She's just like, "I've traveled. Been there, done that, do not need to do anymore." So, I don't know. I feel like maybe she's starting to turn a corner on that. And maybe in this year of the horse, I might be able to convince her to at least start thinking about it. Because she's made a few more comments about,
Oh,
"Oh, I'd like to go to" like, I think she would love to go to Mexico City.
oh,
I
we
think.
should all go.
Well, she's reading, like, Water for Chocolate right now in Spanish,
Oh, yeah.
which doesn't take place there, but it does take place in Mexico. Um, like, I don't know, I think I might not there yet, but
Mm.
on the Viking River cruise, though, for me, I tend to watch, I wouldn't say a lot, but quite a bit of PBS, and it's
Yes.
one of the major sponsors, so there's almost I would say
Yep.
9 times out of 10, there's a Viking River cruise ad. And
Yep.
I love the part where they go, "Unpack once, but see
Yep.
multiple cities," like,
Yep.
I love that idea of, like, your hotel room goes with you,
Yes.
and but you see different places, and when I was in Belgium was it Belgium? No, it wasn't Belgium, but it was another city no, it was Belgium, it wasn't Brussels. It was another city in
Bruges.
Brussels. Wasn't Bruges.
Oh.
Amsterdam? No, it wasn't Amsterdam, that's in the Netherlands. There's another city in Brussels. Another city besides Brussels.
Ghent.
Doesn't sound exactly right. I'll have to look it up. It is not that actually important. I will see if I can find it. But I passed a Viking river cruise that was docked
Oh.
because there was a little bridge that went over and it was sitting next to the bridge. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, so like it's one thing to have seen it on a TV commercial. It's all beautiful and lovely,
Yep.
but it looked
Yep.
just as beautiful and lovely in person.
Oh, really? Wow.
Again, I wasn't on it, I was looking at it, but I was like, "Oh." So it made me want to do a Viking river cruise even more so.
I think that Viking river cruise would be so much calmer than one of those huge cruise ship things because I don't think there are any kids on these Viking cruise
No.
things, and there's no I don't know, but I doubt there's like a casino and a dance club and, all those things that kind of turn me off from the actual cruise ships, which are very popular in the Mediterranean. Lots of people do those. Um, my parents were talking a long time and we get in the mail the ads for Viking. And my They hesitated at one point because I guess there was like a drought in Europe years ago. And the my dad had heard on the news, I guess, that the Viking River, they couldn't go down a part of the Danube or something. So they had to bus people. And of course, this one incident, of course, is, well, we can't do that. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not like an annual situation. Like that must have been pretty unusual. Otherwise, it's not going to be called Viking River cruises. Anyway, this is the one story that kept getting mentioned every time I brought up Viking cruises, and then my dad got sick. So, and even now, when we get the brochure in the mail, my mother's like, "Oh, they had to bus people," and I'm like, "Oh my god."
Is this a generational thing?
Don't
Because I ask this because I feel like I don't know if just our generation doesn't necessarily do that. Maybe we do something else that annoys the younger generation, but this catastrophizing or just focused on the
the
most
one
one time that something
incident.
went bad.
Yeah,
And over again, I'm just like,
yeah,
it's kind of like
oh,
watching the
yeah,
news.
yeah,
I'm like, I can get my news. I can read it. I can go
yeah.
search for it. Actually, sooner or later, it'll find me on social media. But
Oh, it's gonna find you. Yep.
yeah, well, me, of course, because yeah, I do a lot of scrolling. Um, but actually having to sit there and listen
Oh,
to long form news when long form news will have maybe one feel good story and
yeah. Mhm.
will have like 20 in the same broadcast, 20 horrendous, horrific, awful things that happened. And I'm like, why can't we have 20 wonderful, happy, amazing, wonderful things? And maybe one informative, horrible, awful
I think
story.
local news is a little better about that than national news.
My mom tends to like to watch the national more than the local, so maybe
Oh,
I try
okay.
not to be present for the watching.
Oh, my mom used to watch CNN a lot. And I'm sorry, but listening to these people talk about things that they're not actually involved in and don't really know is too much.
And when they talk about it ad nauseum,
Yeah, because they have nothing else to talk about, and that's their job.
because it's a
That's
slow
it. They
news
gotta save
day,
their job. Yeah,
I can't.
I can't stand it. I can't.
All right. I have a couple more things. Coming back to travel.
Oh,
When travel
alright.
helps most, travel tends to be most helpful for well being when it is
Mhm.
chosen, not forced, which is
Mm.
why I'm trying to seduce my mom into wanting to go.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so it has to support a sense of control and autonomy. You can't
Mm,
require somebody. So even if it's a prescription, it cannot be a prescription forced on somebody. It
mm,
tends to work best if it includes restorative elements such as nature, a slower pace, plenty of
mhm.
sleep, and time away from constant digital demands.
Oh.
So
I
you
wonder
can,
if they should have, I'm sure there are, like, digital detox vacations, but I wonder how many people would do it, because to relinquish your phone.
well, there are plenty of people who do Vipassanas, and
Do what?
most Vipassanas, it is a silent retreat, and most
Oh,
of
yes,
them,
I knew someone who did that.
yeah, I know a few people who've done it, um, and it requires a relinquishing of your
Yeah.
phone.
One of my yoga teachers did that for 10
Mhm.
days. But I knew a woman who did it for I didn't know her personally, but I knew her husband, a year. She did a 1-year silent retreat.
More power to her. I'm thinking she gotta be something besides a Gemini. Or not have Gemini somewhere in her first 3 because that sounds like torture. I think the idea of doing it for 3 to up to 10 days, okay. Maybe if I did it, I might find a month okay, but I am pretty sure going beyond a 3-month time period, and even 3 months is pushing it, time period would,
Mm.
yeah. At this current moment, I cannot imagine that.
Have you looked into doing it? I wonder what
I
they
have
do.
looked at I've talked to plenty of people who've done it. I had a
Oh.
client recently who did it. I going to energy healing school, there's a lot of people who end up doing
Oh.
Vipassana, so I've talked to a lot of folks who have done it. So I've had firsthand descriptions of what it's like, what it was like for them. Almost I have not talked to anybody who did not find it helpful. I've had people who
Oh.
found it more difficult and less difficult.
Hmm.
I've had people who it really helped based on where they were at, and I've had people who did not necessarily find it helpful, but thought the experience was worth having. So for me,
What kind of activities do they do? They're quiet, right? There's no speaking.
um, they so the last description there was Tai Chi, there was yoga.
Oh,
There
okay.
are some that have you journal, so there's no outward words, but you might do conversations with yourself via a journal, but
Hmm.
there's others that are not even journaling, like, where the idea is to not be wrapped up in words or in the mind at all,
Ah, I
but to
see.
be more connected to nature and the body.
Oh, I see. That makes
But
sense.
but it depends, like I said, there are some that
Yeah.
do journaling, like physical written journals. There's some that
Hmm.
have like, people will paint, whether it's watercolors or something, it's just something or
Mm.
draw. But then there's others that don't have you doing any of that sort of mental work, and I think that's probably the kind that would be more difficult for me.
Oh,
They're completely
yeah.
silent, and they are of the, you might walk out in nature or sit your butt down or hug a tree or but you're not meant to speak and you're not meant to be in the mind, as in
Oh.
which I think is I watching your reaction, I think it's a very difficult thing. I'd like to do a sampling of people, but I would say those of us who are classified
Mm.
in Western astrology as air signs, the
Mm.
ones that
Mhm.
are not that don't engage your mind might be the most helpful for us, but I think it's the most difficult to contemplate. Like, I could
Yeah.
see us having an easier time with things that, yes, you do tai chi, you do yoga, but you also do journaling or painting or drawing or something that allows your mind to have room.
Do they let you read a book?
No. Again, it depends because there are some that would allow for the book reading. But my understanding is the sort of true Vipassana is not about reading somebody else's words either.
Oh boy, that would be
And
challenging.
I just want to be clear, I don't pretend to be an expert on this. This is information that I have gleaned and gotten from others who've attended. I'm sure I read
Yeah.
about it at one point, and that's why I say it depends, because some of them are simply about not
Mm.
talking. And so
Mm.
they might have you might be able to read a book, you might be able to listen to music,
Mm.
like,
Mhm.
those are more about you not looking for what am I gonna say or how am I
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
interact, um, and those might be a lot easier,
Yeah.
but there are others that
Interesting.
I think are a little bit more I don't know if it's the true Vipassana or not, but are a little bit more strict on what you can and can't do.
Hmm.
And I know that there is a Vipassana center in Mass upstate. I say upstate for me because I think it's in Western Massachusetts. And there's another one, I believe, in New York. And I
Okay.
think there's a big one in Western Virginia. I
Really?
think. I think so.
Wow.
if I remember
Okay.
right.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so we covered it can't be forced. The other part
Yeah.
is it includes restorative elements. Nature,
Yes.
slower pace, sleep. Okay, we touched on that. And then there's two more elements, which is it fosters connection. Trips with supportive companions or opportunities to meet people often reduce loneliness and deepen relationships. It's another element. And then the last one of these is there's space for reflection, such as journaling or intentional meaning making around memorable experiences. And I take that to mean whether that's, you know, pictures or art or just really making the memory. You know how we talked about those ones that we did where we can't remember it because we were so
Yeah.
tired? Like when they talk about this, I'm like, memorable experience that you can really take away and remember. Maybe it's the wine tasting. Didn't we do a wine tasting when we were in Sydney? I think we did. I have a memory of a wine tasting. Maybe you don't remember it, but I remember. And it's where I learned to really like Shiraz.
Oh.
And I had a similar and I'm not Katie can tell you, I'm not a huge drinker. So I do like my glass of wine on occasion, but I have been verboten from sharing a bottle from her with her and my sister because I ruin their balance. So I have to get my own glass because I'm only normally going to have one glass. So, but when Nettie and I were in Buenos Aires, not
Hmm.
in Buenos Aires, when we went to Mendoza, we were in Argentina and we went to
Oh,
Mendoza.
yeah. Mhm.
Again, time for reflection and relaxing. The Olympics were on because it was about this time of year, and we would have lunch with a bottle of wine and we would have dinner. And that is where I fell in love with Malbec. So I got Shiraz in
Mm.
Australia with Katie, and I got Malbec with Nettie in Argentina.
Yeah. Malbecs are
But
really nice.
right, I really like
Yeah.
Malbecs. I really like a good Malbec. So those are some of the elements that make it. Um,
So I travel a lot alone,
mm,
a lot. Very rarely am I with somebody. Like leisure travel, which is interesting, isn't it?
it is. I normally go to visit people.
Mm. Mhm.
I like I get the alone time sometimes in the travel there and the travel home, but I've always loved going someplace where I know somebody who's a local in some way. Like maybe they've moved there, like when I visited you in
Yeah.
places that you've lived, but and I remember going to a wedding in India and I loved the
Mm.
experience because I was with a family who was from there. And I did another part of the trip as a pure tourist, like not visiting people I knew or anything. But that first part of it, where you're with a family who's from there, was just such a different experience than, being a tourist in a country, a pure
Yeah.
tourist.
Yeah.
Like even my latest time in Madrid, I was there, I was working. I took the subway, like the metro, like I walked like several days a week, I walked a certain route. It's a different experience than just going as a tourist and being there a few days.
So one place I discovered last year that is now my favorite place on the planet is Cornwall. And
Ooh.
that actually is very relevant to this conversation because all I do there are coastal walks by myself.
Ooh.
And I have never been a nature person. I do not enjoy trees. And I do not enjoy forests. Actually, I'm very suspicious of forests.
Oh.
And I don't, because I feel hemmed in and I feel like something's it's like almost malevolent. I
Ooh.
know. But I think
I'm
it's
thinking of
also a
past
lot of
life.
like, I think possibly a lot of like serial killer stuff I watch is like that from that. But yes, it may be past life-ish as well because I don't enjoy forests. Now, so it was even weirder that I got this urge last year to do, but I love the sea. Like I'm an ocean girl. So I decided, I got it in my head that I'm going to go to the coast and I'm going to go as far away from everything as possible. Cornwall. Great. Because I was living in Malta. So I got myself down there by myself, um, figured out the bus system, got on the bus, got all the way down to it's like, so Cornwall is like kind of like two bits. There's like Penzance over here, Land's End, and then this down here is the Lizard Peninsula, which is more remote because no trains go down there. You have to take the bus, local bus. So that's what I did. I went, of course, to the most, like the tippity end of the Lizard, and I would just go 3, 4 hours. I'd be walking along, and UK is great because they have it's the Southwest Coastal Path. It's all legitimate, you know. There's paths everywhere, but it's people go to do this thing. It's like a thing. Um, and I just loved it. I did it twice. So, and I think it is that, I think it's that nature. I think it's partly it's the nature because you're walking right along the coastline. Um, but you see people, like people are on the path. So you say, hello, how are you doing? You have like maybe a conversation and then you keep going on. So there's like a little bit of a social connection, but not too much, you know. And then and it's exercise. And so you feel like so sore at the end of the day, but then you feel great. But you're not like it's not like weights or something. You're like because it's a steady pace. Sometimes you have to crawl over these rocks. You know, it's as demanding as you want it to be. And to be honest, there's people like 80-year-olds out there. So, you know, you can do what you want, however much of the path you want to do. Um, but I think it's like kind of like a workout. Um, and that ocean rejuvenation. I was lucky with the weather. It was sunny. Actually, it was kind of a heat wave. Um, so I can buy my own food the way what I want to eat. You don't have to deal with another person and like trying to, adjust food. So, I mean, it's my favorite, and I came up with this description of Cornwall for me that I've been saying to people. And I think for me, the Lizard Peninsula in Cornwall, it's like a shower for the soul. I felt cleaned. So I went by myself, so I was quite very philosophical about my experience. But I loved it, and I can't wait to go back. That's my
I think
plug for Cornwall.
I think it's awesome. The one thing I will tell you is for some reason your description when you were talking about it made me think of something I read a couple nights ago, which was the latest studies on women and men and sleep. And
Mm.
women truly get restful sleep when they sleep on their own without anybody
Ah,
next to them. Because women, there's something about the way women sleep when somebody else is there. There's a part of their brain that never truly rests. And they call it sort of the mama brain, that women's brains
mhm.
literally pay attention to the other body, whether it's an infant or not. You're just very aware of
Yes,
the
I
other
am very
body.
aware.
And
Yes.
that women don't get rest, true rest, unless they sleep alone. At least that's what the latest studies are showing. So I know that that wasn't necessarily what you were describing, but it made me think of that concept of just being
Mm.
someplace remote. And
Mm.
maybe there's other people there, but you don't have any sort of responsibility to them in any way.
Exactly. There's
You
no obligation. Like you can chit chat or not chit chat. It's kind of you decide how you feel at that moment.
I want
Yep.
to do, and I haven't necessarily seen this, I've seen some ideas that it might exist. I'd like to do some sort of walking tour in the Highlands of Scotland.
Mm,
And I'm just talking about walking, not obviously there are places you might have to climb over and things like that, but just the idea of walking. And I mean, there's so much coastline, the ability to do that along the coast
have you
in
heard
the
of
summer.
that 500-mile coastal
Loop?
walk or drive or whatever it is? I
Mm-mm.
think people drive it. I think you can walk it, parts of it for sure.
No, I haven't. I haven't looked at
Mm,
any of this. Again, I haven't even seriously, I mean, at one point I looked at the river cruises just like to see, because there's
mm.
different ones, you know. In fact, I think the Viking now has a Mississippi River cruise.
Really?
I believe they do,
Oh. Hmm.
or at least they did a
Oh,
couple years ago.
speaking of which, I would like to go back to New Orleans.
Me
I went
too.
there a long time ago for work, um, light work. It was like a conference or whatever. So we escaped a lot to go hang out. Um, that was fun. I think New Orleans has an interesting culture.
I went there twice just before Hurricane Katrina.
Oh my.
Yeah, I went there in
Mm.
January of that year because I had friends who were supposed to be getting married in New Orleans in October, so post Hurricane Katrina. And then I went in July because a friend was turning 35, I think. Anyways,
Oh wow.
she decided last minute it was less expensive to go in July. It's hot. To New Orleans. So I ended up in New Orleans in July. And I can tell you that both times, like again, the first time I went with people who were living there. I stayed in their home. And the
Mm.
second time I went purely as a tourist, like stayed in a hotel and like hung out with a bunch of folks. I was with some foodies. So there was definitely some, you would have
Oh, very
approved of this, Katie.
nice.
There was some definitely sampling of the cuisine in addition to just the
Nice.
food, like it was, and I was with folks who enjoyed their alcoholic beverages as well. So I didn't do as quite as much as that, but I did some of it. But
Sazerac. I think that's their cocktail from down
I
there.
have no idea. I don't know what I did have. I refused the shots in the club. I was not going that far. I was like, I'm sorry, some chesty woman walks up to us with little no. No, you guys do what you want.
Yeah.
I do not want shots from this chesty woman with these tubes. That's not for me. They enjoyed them. I did not have shots. But, I did have, um, some other punch-like beverage that was local. I don't think it was a
Mm.
Sazerac. I think it was
No,
like
Sazerac's
a
a cocktail,
yeah, I think it
like,
was like a
with
New Orleans punch or something with some
mm.
rum in it. Um,
Oh.
but I really enjoyed it. Really enjoy like, New Orleans
Mm.
for me, considering all the stuff that I'm into, felt
Mhm.
very at home. And the first time I was there, I actually went out to one of the plantations and like, "Hey, have a traditional Creole meal."
Oh.
Well, Puerto Ricans are criollos. That's the mix of
Oh.
the native, the African, and the European. And
Mm.
they served red rice and beans with corn.
Mhm.
And I was like, I could have had this at home. This is like my home cooked meal. Um, I just felt very, very at home in New Orleans. Like I would 100% meet you in New Orleans.
Mm.
Like,
I had,
ah,
crawdaddies there.
ooh,
My
I was
god, it
not there
was
during the
so
season.
good. It was
Yes,
amazing.
very, very
Really
good.
good. Really good.
I think for you, if we're going back, we need to make sure that we make some reservations at some key restaurants.
Oh, I would be. Yes.
Yes,
Don't worry.
even before we got there, so we could make sure that you could go.
Oh, yeah,
But I do,
100%.
I do have to say that I still loved Café du Monde and the
Yes,
beignets.
we went there. Yep.
I But I liked my one of my favorite things talking about rest and relaxation is I literally sat on some steps and I watched the people who like entertain for the tourist. This was
Mhm.
in January, the first time I went. And I, like, had a journal out and a book with me, and I wasn't doing anything. I was simply people watching. So,
We sat at the Mississippi River and we're looking. It was so muddy.
it
We
is, it's
just sat
very muddy.
there. We sat there for a while and because you like, all I can think about is Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer and that kind of stuff, you know? So you kind of think, "Wow, the great Mississippi." Mm.
It is, it is. Okay, I think we need to wrap her up. I will
Yes, ma'am.
just note that what we were able to find and what we were seeing over and over again is that travel in its myriad of forms has great benefit both mentally and physically for us. So instead of thinking of it as something that's a luxury or something that is just something that people, I don't know, do to escape, might want to reframe that as something that helps you maintain your health, both mental and physical. And to think about the ways that you're able to incorporate it, even if it means doing staycations or mini travel within
Mm,
your local area. Like, what gives you that forest bath? What allows you to learn something new? What allows you maybe to connect with other people that have an
mhm,
interest in something like you? Because these are some of the things that are found to be beneficial when it comes to travel. And um, I know that in saying this, Katie and I both very much enjoy it, but it was interesting for us to explore the concept of, is this just something we like to do? Or is there actually some benefit to it? Like, because, like there are people who love to drink their alcohol, but that doesn't necessarily always mean that there's a benefit to it. I like my
True,
sugary sweets. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a benefit to it. So did
true.
travel fall into those areas or did it show or was it showing actual benefits?
Mm,
And what we were finding is that they have found actual benefits to it. So take a look at how you might be able to incorporate some in your life.
yes. Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
later.